of course, you learn how to fall properly. But Malenko he was a great coach, man, and week after week I started going there. WCW used to have where you could drive down and they'd pick some of the enhancement guys to get beat up on television by the superstars, And you remember center stage, they used to have two dressing rooms. The superstars dressing room and kind of the what we called back then maybe jobbers or enhancement guys, And I was in the jobber dressing room. So the first time I go there, they chose me to wrestle. Steve, I've only had like a couple matches in my life. I didn't even know what the hell I was doing. The old saying, a wrist watch from a wrist lock. You know what I mean? So they put me against Doom, me and another guy, against Ron Simmons and Butch Reed, two of the best guys in the business, right? So they tell us what they're going to do, and their old finish was they put you up on the shoulders, and I think it was Butch Reed comes off the top rope and clotheslines you, and that was the finish. So they beat me 1, 2, 3, but I was thinking because it's television, it's taping, I got to get out of the ring real quick. So I roll out real quick, not knowing Butch Reed is furious. Now, customary for when the superstars would come back into the enhancement dressing room and come and just shake hands and thank you for putting them over in a good match, So I'm in the dressing room not thinking much about it, but I do remember that as I was kind of crawling out of the ring, I remember Butch Reed gave me this football kick that I'll never forget. I've never been kicked so hard in my life in the ribs, I thought it was part of the show. It's like, holy cow, that hurt, man. So I went back and I was kind of not hot, but just like, whoa. Didn't know they kick you that hard. I thought it was like kind of, they take it easy on you or something. So I go in the dressing room and all of a sudden they come in. Butch Reed is furious. He comes in, you MFer, man, what the hell? You're trying to make me look bad. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he just kept going off on me and getting my face. And then you switch modes because you can only take so much, And it was like, F you, we square off, Sid Vicious is there. He was in there thanking another guy or something. He steps between us and he was really nice to me. He goes, hey, man, Butch, come on, this guy's okay, man. Because I looked like I said to him was hello before the matches in the hallway. Like, wow, you're Sid Vicious, hello, He kind of took a liking to me, kind of protect me from getting my ass kicked that day, But anyways, so he said, next week you come, you're going to wrestle me. And that was when Sid used to do the stretcher gimmick.
But what Hacksaw Butch Reed was trying to get across to you was, hey, man, when we give you that move, you lay there and sell. And the fact that you roll up so quick, that pissed him off. So he should come down there to give you the what for, you being so green to the business. When I had my first match, I got smartened up that day. So you didn't know, hey, man, I need to stay here and sell for this guy. And that's what pissed him off so bad, right?
Absolutely. He was completely right. I was wrong. And I'd say the next week, but let me share the story with you real quick, Steve, because this where it gets good. So now I realize I'm never coming back here. Okay. This is it. Even though Sid said that, it's not up to Sid. It's up to the bookers who wrestles who, And they said, Dusty needs to see you in his office. I thought, oh, here we go. Here I am going to Dusty Rhodes was a booker then. So I go into his office and I just started, I go, hey, Dusty, once I realized my mistake, I said, Dusty, first of all, I am so sorry about the match. He goes, what are you talking about? And he goes, kid, anybody ever tell you look like Little Richard? I go, and I got him into wrestler. I go, Little Richard, isn't that the, I said, I don't know. I never heard of a wrestler named Little Richard. He goes, no, Little Richard. And Steve, no one in my life ever told me I look like Little Richard. You know what I mean? And he just saw this gimmick on me that I never. So he goes, I think I got a gimmick for you. And next thing I know, I'm thinking, Steve, the first thing I thought is, oh my gosh, I get to dress in the other dressing room. So here's where it gets good, Steve. Okay,
oh, God.
I got to be really candid about this. It might offend some people, but I'm saying this is back in the early 90s, okay? And this is just what happened. So don't hate me for it. So I'm down here in Florida. So I'm so excited. I get all my stuff packed. The next morning I go out to my Isuzu pickup truck, okay? And they repossessed it. I don't have a car to get to Atlanta. Mark Hildreth, remember Van Hammer?
Yeah.
He was down there and he goes, I'll give you a ride, man. So he takes me down to Atlanta, 8-hour drive, I'm sitting in the CNN tower. And I mean, his office is like next door to Ted Turner, you know what I mean? So you go up there and they put you in a waiting room and then they go, Dusty, we'll see you now. So I go into his office and he's on the phone talking to somebody and he's really in a heavy conversation. And he goes, hold on. He goes, hey kid, here's the contract. Have your attorney look it over and get back to me. He gets back on the phone. Steve, I got this contract. So I'm standing in front of him still, and he's on the phone in a deep conversation. And I'm seeing the old WCW contract, 75 first year, 150 the second year, right? So I'm like, Steve, I go, I'm an effing millionaire. You know what I mean? Like, I made it. So I wait till he looks up again. I go, excuse me, Mr. Rhodes. I go, do you mind if I just sign this? I don't even have an attorney. He goes, welcome to WCW. And so now, Steve, I am so excited. Okay. I mean, I'm just like, my best friend in the world has always been my dad. You know, now my dad worked my corner in boxing, went to all my hockey games. It was dad, you know, those games and stuff, football games. So I cannot wait to call my dad. But now this is 1991, Steve. Now let me remind you something, okay? Back then, if you made a phone call, the operator would get on. You go, I'd like to make a collect call. And they go, who are you? And they say, you say your name, Marc Mero. They go, would you accept a call from Marc Mero? And the person could either decline or accept. So now there's a couple of things you don't do, Steve. Now, my dad is an old school Jew, okay? You know the old saying, you don't tug on Superman's cape, you don't spit in the wind? Well, here's another one. You don't call a Jew collect, okay? You just don't do that. So my dad was very frugal, okay? So I make the phone call, and as soon as the operator says that, I said, Dad, don't hang up, okay? So he accepts the call, and I go, he goes, Mark, my dad's from Brooklyn, New York, so he always called me Mark, you know? He goes, Mark, well, what's going on? I go, Dad, you're not going to believe this. I just signed a contract with WCW Wrestling. He goes, Mark, I always knew you're going to make it. Someday my boy's going to make it. He goes, what do they got you doing? I go, well, Dad, they got me doing this Little Richard gimmick. He goes, Little Richard? Isn't that Schwarzer? And I go, Dad, but they're paying me like $100,000 a year. He goes, you know, Mark, I always liked that Little Richard. So, Steve, now, I think you might remember this, okay? Now, we do the first pay-per-view, okay? I'm doing this gimmick with PN News back then, okay?
I remember.
And they had salt and pepper there. It was a big deal. Right?
I remember.
And so my dad was a detective, so all his friends are always police officers, you know? So my dad invites everybody over, he gets the pay-per-view, and he goes, my son Mark's going to be on the pay-per-view. Steve, now remember, all these cops used to come to watch me box. They saw me knocking people out, man, you know? All of a sudden, that Tutti Frutti music starts playing. I come out, and my dad tells me the story later on. The whole room got quiet. They come out with that feather boa, walking all flamboyant, you know? And Steve, the first thing Dusty Rhodes has me say when I go to the microphone, I'm so pretty, I should have been born a little girl. And everyone's staring at my dad. My dad just goes, hey, at least he's making good money.
You pulled off the Johnny B. Bad thing so well. I always assumed you thought you looked like Little Richard. I didn't know that you didn't know who he was.
I've never heard that in my life. Obviously, once I did the thin mustache and they did my hair and the outfit and the talk and everything like that. Obviously, then I go, damn.